Hello, Libra. Welcome to Gemini season. Gemini is your fellow air sign, so this is a supportive season for you. That said, there's a lot that's going on over the course of 2024 that is asking Libra to, I would say, transform in some pretty significant ways. And transformation is one of those words, that gets thrown around in especially, astrological communities or spiritual growth communities. And it's like, yay, transformation, with the full moon or something like that. But transformation is gnarly. Transformational processes are processes that really drag us to the depths. They make us reflect on ourselves and in our lives in ways that can be highly uncomfortable. They facilitate experiences that can be deeply painful, that can be really confusing. Um, so, we are coming in a Gemini season at a time when I think a lot of you are in the thick of some big transformational processes. And the feeling that I'm getting is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It does feel like there's a really significant shift in energy. And I think that the first like 2 weeks of Gemini season, the light is getting bigger and you are starting to feel I hope a certain amount of relief. And also, I think a lot of you are like getting some energy back, especially over the last month, but maybe even the last year. A lot of you were just under something. It may have been your own psychology, it may have been the weight of your life, it may have been um not feeling well for various reasons, lots of reasons to not feel well. But it feels to me like as we get into Gemini season, a weight is lifting off of you. The light at the end of the tunnel is getting brighter. You are able to get a deeper breath, and there's some more space. There's like significantly more space that you can conceive of. So I'm happy about this for you. I certainly hope that that's the case. Um, as we move into the season, there is something stirring, I think, for you that has to do with a feeling of what is next. This is like, what's the adventure? What's the next project? Where are we going from here? I feel you looking out at the horizon. This is a season that is highly supportive for travel. If you want to take a trip somewhere, I would say do it. Anytime really in the next year, even between now and June of 2025, you have a lot of support for traveling. Now, many ways to travel. You don't necessarily need to physically go somewhere. You can also travel in your mind and in your consciousness. So, this is a really good time for you to be learning new things, opening up your perspective. Um, Definitely, this is a great time to be seeking out teachers and teachings that inspire and kind of like ignite your process. This is also a time when I'm going to say that you are your best teacher, and especially when you focus on what your passions are, what your gifts are, what your generosity feels like, how you want to grow. Um, you will guide yourself. And there is a kind of tension in your chart right now, and I'm going to be talking about this more at the end of your reading. But there is some tension between, I would say, your growth and your responsibility and the possibilities that you feel and the practicalities and necessities of your life. And that definitely includes your energy and your capacity and things like that. So, take this in any way that's meaningful for you. Take what works, leave the rest. But my feeling right now is that you want to grow in ways that really honor your capacity, but don't but aren't limited by it. And sometimes that means that you might have to like do a deep dive, like again, we're back to transformation, right? Like how do you make the most of transformation? How do you make the most out of lack of capacity, right? Or feeling limited for whatever reason that you might feel limited in. Well, space is infinite. Remember that. Um, space space expands even as it gets smaller. This is something so cool about like quantum studies, right? You can go into like the smallest divisions of space and it's still vast, like it's still full of mystery. So no matter how limiting things might feel, even if you are feeling unwell in your body, even if you are struggling financially, even if the world in 2024 feels like a totally, perplexing, scary, and confining space, there's still space to grow. And where you can start is with how you're feeling. Now, air signs in general, and that includes you, Libra, air signs in general are more conceptual than they are corporeal a lot of the times. And so when I ask you, like, how are you feeling? I'm actually not asking you to think about it. I'm asking you to feel it and to feel it in your body. And then not necessarily to come up with an answer like, I'm feeling hungry or something like that, but to get really curious about the sensations and to go into those sensations, to get deeper and deeper into whatever it is that you might be perceiving, and then to ask, what is this? What's happening here? Get fascinated by the process. That is one way that you can expand infinitely, even if you stay totally in the same place. All right, so we have a full moon the first week of Gemini season. This is a full moon that lights up the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. The full moon is in Sagittarius. This is your solar third house. This is a full moon that definitely amplifies themes of learning, growing, teaching, extending your consciousness, and also extending your influence. This is a great time to be generous with your interests and your curiosities. Attention is such an amazing and powerful resource, right? A lot of times people talk about resources and they don't talk about attention, but attention is actually our most valuable resource. It is more valuable than money. It is literally, how anything can happen in the human realm. Like we have to give attention to something. So wherever you put attention, energy builds and energy grows. This is a full moon to definitely notice, how is your attention moving? Where is your attention going? And it's a great full moon to, again, focus on feeling, to get really invested in what takes your attention, and then how does that feel? What's happening inside of that? Because inside of like the deeply personal, the deeply sensory, the deeply, um, you know, whatever it is, like the micro, so much wisdom expands. There's actually so much information there. And I kind of have this feeling that some of you are like looking for the next step. You're looking for the meaning, you're looking for the purpose, you're looking for um, like a break, you want expansion, but it's like you have to go down before you go up. You have to root so that you can rise. You have to go in so that you can go out. And that's what this full moon feels like to me. It feels like a point of unfurling and uncoiling when you get deeply, deeply, deeply into whatever the thing is that's calling your attention. And so if it feels like, especially some of you, I think might have like very powerful kind of psychological impressions or sensory impressions or bodily situations or relational intimacy entanglements or something where it's like go really into it. Like, what is happening in your body? And ask your body for information. Just as an aside, I teach a regular weekly class called Somatic Space. And this is basically what we do every week in different ways. We work with our bodies as oracles. We work to let the intuitive, symbolic wisdom of our bodies speak to our minds. All right, so then the last couple days of of May, getting into June, um, there's this feeling that I have of, again, like something is unlocking for you, and it is unlocking as you understand what is locked. Like that, I don't know if that makes sense. So, sometimes it's like people get really forceful and they try to change a situation, or, just imagine it's like you're trying to open a door and it's not opening and it's not opening. And you're like pushing the door and you're rattling the door, you're banging on the door, you can't get it out. But actually, it's just like the latch is stuck. But your force will keep it stuck. And what you need to do is get really subtle and like get very curious about, well, what's actually locked? Like, is it the locking mechanism that is locked, or is it actually just stuck? Is there something on the other side of the door? What is it? And it's like once you like get into the details of something, then you know how to move forward. I hope that makes sense for some of you. So when we get into June, your energy really wants to open up. It's like you have a lot of creative energy that wants to get opened up. This is the point where it feels like a lot of you might want to be traveling. You want to be opening your experience, going to new and different places, meeting new and different kinds of people, this kind of thing. This is a really wonderful time for you to be learning. This is a really wonderful time for you to be tuning in again with sources of wisdom and guidance and leadership, as well as the wisdom and guidance and leadership of your body, of your heart, of your spirit. We have a new moon on June 6th. This is a new moon in Gemini that is highly supportive for you to be kind of like setting your sights on growth. When I'm talking about growth here, that could have a lot of different significations. So some of you might be thinking about next steps. And it's like, how are you developing yourself from here? What is the growth potential? Some of you, I feel like, might have something that you want to offer others. And so if there's any way that you are teaching, publishing, writing, leading by example, if there's some way that you are coaching or facilitating or advising, if you're in any kind of role, and certainly your role doesn't need to be one that's named in order to do this. So if you're in any kind of role or any kind of circumstance where you can be a possibility model, where wisdom that you have gathered through your experience could be useful to others, or where you can bring it into a point of a different kind of synthesis or coherence and kind of like position it in a way that it could do something for the world or do something for you. This is a really supportive time to work on projects like that, to release them into the world, or to plant seeds of ideas for things like that. Now, I mentioned that it does feel like there's some tension between how you're thinking about growing or what you're trying to do, or these next steps or traveling or something like that, and capacity. It's kind of like expansion takes a lot of work, right? Like travel, you have to plan it. Oh, you want a writing project and you got to edit. So there's this feeling of needing to attend to the details of what is trying to blossom and what is trying to grow that starts to become really strong as we get into June. Now, there are themes of this definitely throughout the year, but I would say that from the end of May, it's starting to ramp up. And then as we get into like the second week of June, it feels like it really has your attention, where it's like the practicalities and the details and the shit of it, you know, like I don't know what it is. Like, and it's not always bad, you know, in order to do anything, a lot of times we have to do everything. And so there is this feeling of needing to attend to the details so that you can get to the growth. And then some of you are having to work with restrictions and limitations. And these restrictions and limitations could be coming from a lot of different places. There's certainly a lot of restrictions and limitations that life is just going to give you because life be like that. But there's also restrictions and limitations that are going to be really personal to you. For some of you, this is going to have to do with your body, with your energy, with your mood. Again, your capacity. What do you have the spoons for? Your resources, things like that. So what do I want to offer here? I want to offer that the spirit of devotion and discipleship is really important. So the word disciple, right, which is like a divine servant, right, that we are in service to a kind of like larger purpose. That word is also a word of discipline. The discipline of devotion is not glamorous. All spiritual servants, right? Like you think about priests and nuns and priestesses, you know, people who are deeply, deeply in service to what they're devoted to. What are they doing for the most part? For the most part, it's like chopping wood, carrying water, right? Cleaning out the temple, whether it's the physical temple that they're worshiping in, or the temple of their bodies, or the temple of their minds, doing service in the community, doing the practical day-to-day tasks of tending to the divine is unglamorous. Now, the divine is glamorous, right? Like we're thinking about, oh, this is how I want to grow, and this is my big potential, and these are my gifts that I want to give. And that is us connecting to the divinity that is moving through us. And you have this vibe beginning in Gemini season, Libra. Like there is actually a big energy that is wanting to move through you that feels super generous. It feels really guided. It feels wise. It feels creative. It feels like you do have a lot to give. And guess what? You have to chop wood and carry water. You have to deal with the day-to-day. And some of you in the day-to-day are really needing to deal with disagreement. It might be disagreement between you and yourself, where, you know, it's like, I want to do this thing, but I got to do that thing, but I want to do that thing, but I really want to do that thing, right? And it could feel like an internal tension. And some of you are facing, you know, or needing to grapple with pushback. And there's like levels of feedback and complexities of relationships that I'm not going to say are like failure, but they slow things down. And in the slowing down, your ideas about what it is that you're trying to do are getting checked. And this is necessary. This is going to help these ideas refine. It's going to help them actually come more fully into the form that they want to take. It is going to contribute to your grace and your generosity and your offering. And it could be highly frustrating. So, especially in mid-June, please be in a practice of devotion. And the practices of devotion that are going to most serve you are ones of meditative awareness. If you notice yourself getting like really focused on what you're trying to do or how whatever you're trying to do isn't working, if you're like, especially if you're moving really fast, if you're really trying to get somewhere and like it's making you anxious or edgy, or or it's like you're frazzled or something like that, breathe, notice the space around you, orient yourself, say a little prayer to your higher self that you can move in ways that are measured and tempered and full of grace. Be in devotion to relational process. You've got a lot that's going on in your chart these days about working it out with people and changing relationships and like changing the way that you're in relationship, changing the agreements that you're making in relationships. And this is important. This is important work. And so if you're trying to do something, get somewhere, and part of what is feeling frustrating is other people, right? Like other people being people, like having needs, going at different paces, disagreeing with you, throwing a wrench in the thing. Breathe, look around, orient, remind yourself of your deepest intention, remind yourself of everybody's humanity, remind yourself of the thing that humans actually like need to remember most of all, I think, which is that we are not the penultimate importance, right? Like we are here as part of a much larger relational field of life and creation. And we get really hung up and fucked up about our egos all the time. And so if you're in it with other people and people's egos are in it, breathe, just like take a break, don't rush. You're gonna get there. There is a need for you to move at the speed of relationship right now. And the speed of relationship is a speed that is highly variable. And a lot of times it goes really, really, really slow. Sometimes so slow it seems to be moving backwards or not moving at all until it moves fast, right? And a lot of times you have to move really, really, really slow until you can move fast. Because in that slow part where you're, trying to understand each other and work through the differences and whatever, that's building trust. That's building competency, right? And so if you're in a process with other people where things feel stuck or they're moving slow, that doesn't mean they're always going to be stuck or moving slow, but there's something that's happening right now that is asking you to move at the speed of relationship. And this continues as we move into Cancer season. As we cross the threshold of the solstice, there's actually increasing emphasis on relationship and bringing yourself beautifully into relationship. And Libra, you are a sign that everybody's always talking about how beautiful you are in relationship, but things are changing for you right now. And you are learning to do relationship differently. And some of what is different is that you're not doing some of the things that Libra is always doing, right? Like lots of people pleasing or accommodating or being kind of like vague, right? Like you are learning to be more um confrontational sometimes. You're learning to be less scared of rejection. You're learning to hold your self-confidence in a different kind of way. You're learning to stand for things that maybe before you could be more waffly about. And you're also learning how to meet other people in their ferocity, in their intensity, in their whatever that they might be bringing, um, in ways that don't involve you abandoning yourself and that don't have to have you like looking for either the like volume knob or the control lever or something like that. It's like you're building skills to actually have more intimacy, and increased intimacy is more messy. It's actually like significantly more messy, right? The more intimate we get with people, the more up in their business we are. And so it's not about like, oh, everything's just going to be peachy and smooth all the time. No, we have to be able to get into it and get out of it. It's rupture and repair, right? These are the processes that build trust over time. And you want to bring competency to that. You want to bring capacity to that. You want to bring adaptability, right? And listening skills. You want to be a person who leads with the example of um, of great relationship, right? And great relationship is not always being happy. It's not always getting along. It's being honest, right? It's being true to your word. It's being willing to listen and change. It's being able to like get into it and work it through. All right. So over the course of Gemini season, Embodied Astrology has a lot to offer that I think that you would enjoy. So first and foremost, over the course of this year, every single month we have full moon artistic alchemy gatherings with one of our facilitators, Junata Petrus. Junata is a Libra moon. She is an absolutely lovely human who really knows how to hold a beautiful space where people really get to feel cared for. Um, Artistic alchemy is a place to work your artistic alchemy. Everybody's an artist. Everybody can be creative. Life is art. And this is a place where we are learning to nurture and invest in our creativity and life as art. Whether or not we're out there writing poems or making paintings, this is about finding the creative pulse in life. And if you want to work on any particular creative project, this is also a great place to get support and inspiration for that. And every month she's offering different prompts, different practices, different possibilities for tuning in with the full moon axis in your chart and in the kind of transiting influence of the moment. So we have a full moon on the 23rd of May, and then another one coming up the first day of Cancer season. Her artistic alchemy in Cancer season will be on June 23rd. You can find all the dates on our website, embodiedastrology.com, and through the link in the show notes. We also have a couple of offerings, one in particular that I think would be really supportive for you when it comes to these feelings of devotion and discipline and really like working your capacity to show up for what it is that you are trying to show up for. Over the course of 2024, Sherry Taylor, who is a really profound teacher, Sherry is a is a psychologist and a death doula and an amazing researcher of myth and archetype. And over the course of this year, she is working with Saturn as an influence. And you can see Saturn in your chart. Down here in the solar sixth house, Saturn is transiting through Pisces currently. And Sherry is tuning in with the femme faces of Saturn. And Saturn is often talked about as a patriarchal figure, but actually when you look back at Saturn's mythic history, you find deeply non-binary beings and also deeply feminine energy. And this energy is about integrity. It is about the stuff and the substance that actually holds things together and holds things together over time. And really at its core, Saturnian energy is about relationship, and it is about building bonds that stand the test of time. And so in the end of June, in the end of May, Sherry is starting a new cycle in devotional practice, and each cycle has 3 different sessions or at different dates. But basically, these sessions are meant to help you tune in with this archetypal energy in your own life and develop practices of planetary allyship. Um, Out of all the offerings that we have going on right now, I think that this is the one that would be most supportive for what I think your chart is trying to do right now, which is to build strong, sustainable relationships. And that means knowing where your limits are. It means knowing how to work around boundaries. It means knowing how to work brilliantly with your own capacity, right? Giving what you can give and also letting other people give to you if you cannot show up for that. Working with the weathering, right? And like the tempering of conflict and difference of opinion and things like that. And then finally, we have a offering with Gabs 404 that is an amazing offering, especially for artists or for people who are storytellers. Gabs is working with Neptune at the anaretic degree of Pisces, and this is the very last degree of the zodiac. In 2026, or actually starting next year in 25, Neptune will move into Aries, into your opposite sign. And this significance is huge for Libra because you are basically wanting to become a new person in the world. I think you're wanting to really come into a new manifestation of your relational potentiality. And that is coming for you. And right now, there is this energy of needing to kind of let yourself dissolve. And so again, coming back to this tension that I feel in your chart, there is something about this dissolve that feels like you have to let go, especially of places where maybe you take on responsibility that you just can't take on anymore. And it could be about capacity for sure. It could be that this kind of responsibility or job is not really aligned for you anymore. It could be that things just need to be changing. And so you're having to kind of like remake how you are and who you are and what you do. But there is this feeling of like needing to change reality. And that's the work that Gabs is working with in the Nebula Lab, beginning in early May and extending over the course of the rest of 2024. They're meeting every month. It is a drop-in space, so you don't have to go to all the sessions. You could just come at any point, and every single session, they're going to be doing something around working with Neptune, working with natal Neptune placements, working with Neptune in transit, and really connecting astrology to concepts of reality and unreality. And especially for any of you who are interested in photography or visual art as a way to help support your own process and your own practice of living, this could be a really robust and supportive space for you to do some of that. Libra, I'm wishing you all the best in Gemini season and beyond. Bye for now.